one barrier that we see with safety and inclusion is this individual not being able to request to enter an area. So he has a big presence, he's a bigger guy, and so sometimes that can really be perceived as unsafe, especially in the community with unknown people. In school or even in like community settings that are super familiar, or at home, then coming to a doorway that maybe someone is standing. So if I'm standing at the doorway and they want to enter and they just kind of like push past to enter, in a known setting, that's not been that big of a deal because there's no aggression occurring. And so the individual's allowed to just come in. In most community settings, that is not working well because it's being perceived as a threat and it's not very socially appropriate behavior. If you want to go into an area, so an aisle where there's a lot of people, or especially a doorway, or you want to go, either in or out of a space, just pushing through, especially since he's a bigger guy, is perceived as dangerous. So it's an important thing that we want to shape. And so a really great way we can do that is through this natural exposure that we can embed frequently in natural settings. So school and home and places like OT and things like that are very safe places to shape it because it is with known people, and we can create these planned events. So if we're transitioning into any new area, the way that we're going to present those events is that we are going to stand and block the area. A lot of times we kind of anticipate that he's going to want to come in, and we might even prompt a peer, hey, can you scoot over so that he can come in? Or we see that he's entering the area, and so we just naturally step to the side. And what we want to do is help him to ask so that if he's in a position in the community that skill can be improved. Obviously, we're going to have to work on generalizing it, but for right now, so we're going to stay standing, blocking the area, and maybe even intentionally taking up more of that space. Then when he's coming and standing behind us wanting to enter, we're going to block that just a little bit, and right after that block, so maybe like really stand our ground, not needing any physical prompting, not pushing away, but just using our body to take up the space. And then we're going to prompt to tap here. So we're going to do a direct model of that prompt. When he imitates that and prompts, say, oh, thank you. And then we're going to move to the side and he's going to be able to come in. So we want to do that as frequently as possible so that there's lots and lots of opportunities to engage in that behavior. And then once that behavior becomes more independent, then we'll start to shape it in the community again with ourselves. We're not going to use unknown people. So we're going to shape it with ourselves. And then slowly we would gradually test and see how is independent navigation in a store, things like that. Going to keep close proximity control. We're going to make sure that there's no unsafe situations. But the first thing we want to do is, instead of anticipating and kind of allowing this individual to not progress with this skill, we're going to make more planned exposure to blocking an area and asking to tap. We can do that. There also can be peers if in school or OT, if they're able to model that as well. You can ask peers to do that. So there's multiple people who are interacting, prompting the same skill of just a tap and then waiting, and then the individual will move and then be able to enter the area.